Okay, let's just jump right in. What if I told you that right now, your body is sending out a kind of secret code? Yeah, like every single second. It's made up of just two numbers, but they tell this incredible story about whether you're storing fat or actually burning it. So today, we're going to crack that code.
All right, so here's the first part of that code, 77 milligrams per deciliter. Now, that's just a fancy way of saying your average blood sugar. I want you to think of this number as the calm, steady one. When it's stable like this, it's basically telling your body, hey, everything's cool, no need to panic and store a bunch of fat. It's kind of like the gatekeeper, you know?
And then we have the second number, 7.68 parts per million. This one is totally different. It's your breath ketones. And what are those? Well, think of them as the exhaust fumes from your body's fat-burning engine. So while that glucose number was all calm and steady, this one, it's always moving. It's the actual real-time proof that you're burning fat. This is the good stuff, the payoff.
So you've got these two numbers, right? One is your steady foundation, the other is your dynamic engine. Together, they create your unique metabolic code. But how do they actually connect? And what happens, really happens, when you finally learn how to read them and crack that code for yourself?
Okay, so how does this whole thing work? Well, it all boils down to something we can call the fat burn switch. And look, this isn't some kind of magic trick. It's pure biology, a mechanism that you can actually learn to flip on yourself.
The official sciencey name for this switch is lipolysis, but don't let the word scare you. All it means really is your body's amazing process for unlocking your stored fat and turning it into pure energy. So anytime you hear someone talk about fat burning, this is what's happening under the hood.
Okay, check this out. This is basically a domino effect. It all starts with number one, keeping that glucose stable. When you do that, it sends a low insulin signal. Now here's the key part. Think of insulin as the guard that locks your fat cells. When insulin is low, the guard is off duty and the lock comes off. And that is what triggers active lipolysis, the fat burn. And what's the end result? Your liver starts pumping out ketones for fuel. See? One thing leads directly to the next.
Here's a great way to picture it. That stable glucose block, that's mission control. That's where it all starts. If you can keep your glucose in that nice, tight, happy range, you automatically keep insulin low. And just like we said, when insulin is low, boom, the doors to your fat stores just swing wide open. This kicks lipolysis into high gear, and that's what makes those ketone numbers we saw earlier start to climb.
All right, so that's the theory. But does it actually work like that in real life? Let's find out. We're about to look at some real-world data from a full 7 days where this metabolic code was tracked, literally second by second.
Okay, this right here is the money shot. This is the proof. Look at the chart on the left. That's the CGM data. See how beautiful and flat that line is? It's just hanging out right around that 77 number we started with. Now, look to the right. That's what happens because of the chart on the left. The ketones just skyrocket. This is exactly why you need to see both. The glucose chart on the left is the cause, and the ketone chart on the right is the effect.
You can literally tell a story with these numbers. So on day one, we're starting at ground zero. But look at day two. Bam, we jump to 7.23. Now that's deep in what's called nutritional ketosis. It's the zone where your body's like, okay, I'm using fat for fuel now. Then day three hits a peak, almost 8.5. That is some serious fat burning. Then there's this little dip on day five. We'll come back to that. It's interesting. And get this, on day 7, that number, 7.68, was taken in the middle of the night. Super important.
So we've got all this data, all these graphs, but what does it actually mean, for you and your goals? Let's decode it and see what it says about fat loss. This table lays it all out so clearly. Your breath ketone level, 5-star rating. That is your direct, undeniable signal that you're burning fat. Your low, stable glucose, also 5 stars, because it's stopping you from storing new fat. But hey, look at that last line, nocturnal ketones, 5 stars again. This is pointing to something huge, something a lot of people miss.
You heard that right. It turns out one of the most important times for fat loss is when you're sleeping. I know, it sounds crazy, but overnight, your body is naturally fasting. Key hormones, like growth hormone, are at their peak. And all of that just puts lipolysis, that fat-burning process, into overdrive.
Okay, let's circle back to that dip we saw on April 25th. Now, your first reaction when you see a number drop might be, oh no, something's wrong, fat burning stopped. But I'm telling you, it's the exact opposite. It's actually a really, really good sign.
It means your body got super efficient at using ketones for fuel, especially right after exercise.
So I love this quote. The dip is a feature, not a bug. It sums it up perfectly. What it means is your muscles were so hungry for energy after that workout that they were just sucking up ketones directly. The ketones weren't showing up in your breath because they were being used right away. That, my friends, is what metabolic flexibility looks like.
And all of this really brings us to the most important point. When you start looking at these two things together, your glucose and your ketones, you stop guessing. You start knowing. You get to watch your own metabolic story play out right in front of you.
So let's just nail down the key takeaways. First, stable glucose is the on switch for burning fat. Simple as that. Second, ketones are the proof, the receipt that the switch has actually been flipped. Third, looking at both together shows you the whole cause and effect story. And finally, having this data means you can optimize your choices instead of just, guessing and hoping for the best.
And so that leaves us with one last question to think about. We've just walked through 1 week of data, and we uncovered this incredible story about how the body creates and uses energy. It really makes you think, what story is your metabolism trying to tell you right this very second?